Now, what about the 4D chess that the Ghost was playing and eventually a double dissolution where he, of course, almost lost his majority, in fact, barely held on to it in 2016? Well, apparently an early election based off a housing bill may well be the exact same or worse result for Anthony Albanese because, unlike the Ghost, he's not starting with a landslide like the one Tony Abbott handed him in 2000 or that was taken from him after the 2013 election, or, of course, in the case of Rudd and it being taken from him and Gillard, of course, piddling it up against the wall. He's got two, remember? Two. He's on 76 as a majority. Then he's got to spare two more because he's on 78. So what 4D chess, or is it just tiddlywinks, is currently going on with the government pretending they may well have a double dissolution, which, of course, will explode a crossbench, making it even harder to get something through the Senate, Michael?
Mate, he's on 78, but as I said to you, he's actually on 67 come election day. Dutton's on 72 already, and I think Dutton's going higher. I don't want to upset my friend Stephen Conroy, because when I say 72, he has a migraine. So given that he's probably not watching at this minute because it's past his bedtime, Dutton's probably on 74 by now. But anyway, don't say that to Stephen. Look, this bloke... Albanese's polls are getting worse every day, as we keep saying. He's in free fall. This has been another disastrous week for him, starting off with the capital gains tax that no one asked for. Maybe they did. It was just their own work at Treasury, etc., etc. He didn't know. I mean, what a complete shemozzle over a serious issue. Now he's toying with the idea of a double dissolution. He told Andrew Cannell, we have to wait and see. Well, I'll tell you that you don't have to wait and you don't have to see. He ain't calling a double dissolution election, right? Because the quota from the Senate, zero chance. What was that? You know, Steve, what was his name? Carell anyway. That's the
Steve Carell, yeah.
Steve Carell. He said zero chance when he sat at the back of that mortgage brokers meeting in The Big Short. The quota in the Senate goes from 14.3% to get a senator elected to 7.7%. So it's much easier for minor parties to get elected in a Senate in a double, which means the crossbench effectively in the Senate will be larger than it is now. If it's grandmother's fruitcake now, it'll be 3 fruitcakes. So Albo ain't going to do that. And he ain't going to call election anytime soon, because if he does, he'll get flogged. There's zero chance of him holding his majority. You know, I've been saying this for months. There's zero chance of him governing in his own right. And if he called an election any time soon, well, he'll be ringing Adam Bant saying all is forgiven.
There's a couple of reasons. There's a couple of reasons, Michael, why you might call it early.
Oh, you think you could actually press the button?
Not a double dissolution. No. I mean, aside from anything else, there's the interesting question that Section 57 of the Constitution says that the Senate the bill must fail to pass. Now, whether postponing a vote to November, as the Greens and Coalition...
It hasn't actually... They haven't got the first trigger, let alone the second.
Is a moot point.
Good point.
And they've got to ask the Governor-General and convince him.
Yeah.
It's pie in the sky. But the reason he might be interested in having an early election, as I keep thinking he will, is because you've already got other contenders who think they'll make better prime ministers.
Correct.
Starting to count numbers, you've got the snake charmer, you've got Burke, and you've got Tanya Plibersek, who's busy out there saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. So if he wants to say, well, I'm going to go off there, and he can go. He can just call it.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, you know, when he mucked up like he's doing now, in the lead up to the last election, they used to send him off on COVID lead.
Yeah,
but there
that's
ain't
right.
No COVID
That's
this
right.
time.
He had to disappear during the election.
He disappeared for a week. He's got COVID. They can't do that now. There's no disease that they can send him out of.
I had forgotten about it. This is why the institutional memory of you two. I love it, and I love it here each and every week. All right. Now, in the Queensland election, well done to the Liberal Party because they made the decision Greens go last, right? That's exactly what the position should be. In my view, you know, there's no case for the Greens being anything but at the very bottom of the ticket. There may well be a certain person in a certain seat, but as a rule, dead last, right? Well, Jewish groups have actually got together with other minority groups and are trying to inform the public about how ethnic minorities are not, in fact, best represented by the Greens, who, of course, remember, try to pretend that they are, you know, sort of the Aussie version of the United Nations, etc., etc. Michael, what do you think? I know you speak very warmly of the decision that the Libs have made in Queensland. I hope it's one that happens nationally. We all know Labor should, but won't. Because literally there would be a lot bigger number than 70 we'd be potentially talking about here as a potential government. But it's good not just to make these moves, but also for people to be willing to put up posters and send the message to the average voter so they know the Greens equals something other than what the Greens are putting their own posters up about.
This is just a fantastic development. The fact that some in the Jewish community, the Hindu community are getting together to basically say these people don't represent minorities. And, you know, they may not get a huge number of votes, but they're making the point to people, putting pressure on the Greens to get people to understand that this group that talks a big game are basically a hard left, fanatical, extreme, pro-anarchist organisation that are not the friend of minorities unless they're Palestinian extremists in this country, unfortunately. But the bigger question is not so much about the Queensland election, because we know Stephen will be looking for a job after the election up there. The bigger question about Queensland is the federal seat of Griffith. You keep your eye on this seat, because Max Chandler-Mather, who is the Greens member, was only elected because he got Labor Party preferences, right? Chandler-Mather got 35% of the primary vote. Labor came third. They preferenced him and he won. So hello, Mr Albanese. You're going to preference him again and get him elected? You're going to do that, Mr Albanese? This is the bigger question. Not what the Liberals are doing, because they've got a principled stand in Queensland, and Dutton will do the same Australia-wide. These people are going last. They are extremists who will ruin this country. The question is Albanese going to have the guts to do the right thing by Middle Australia and say, yep, we agree. The Greens are going last. We're preferencing the Liberals. Or is he going to preference the Greens? Because if he does, that'll be the end of him.
Well, and also, I agree. But also the thing here, Bronwyn, is that, as I said, we've seen this kabuki theatre of them pretending to be at war with each other, being Labor and the Greens, where the reality is that they're always going to end up either electing each other to Parliament or certainly supporting each other in a Parliament. What do you think about what Michael just said?
I agree with everything that Michael said. I just wish we had put the Greens last when we gave preferences to Mr Bant. He got elected on Liberal preferences.
Correct.
And look what we've got as a result. So hopefully that mistake will never be made again.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is this. The Greens hate the Australian people. They hate the concept of the nation state. They want to see the populace dumbed down so that when they rise up to be the elitist leaders, they have absolute control. And everything about them is almost evil. They are really bad people. And if you listen to their rhetoric, listen carefully to what they say, you wouldn't feed them. But of course, Albanese will get them.
Of course, we are speaking in metaphors for those that are getting ready to write their letter of complaint. We are speaking in political metaphors.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. But the point is that they hate Australia. They just hate Australia.